Hey everyone, I hope we're all having a fantastic day. Today we're dishing out my best recommendations I have right now as to the next legend you should or could be unlocking. As with everything in Apex, you should pick the one you want to play, but if you want my recommendation as someone who does have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours and who probably should just go outside a little bit more, well, here it is. Revenant and Crypto start off our bottom two spots, with Revenant being the worst pick that I do recommend right now. He's very low in terms of the overall power. He requires a lot of coordination, positioning, and map awareness, and I think if you are a new player, this is a little bit harder for you to do if you are looking for your first legend to unlock. His passive of higher climbing is actually insane, but it requires very specific terrain and buildings to be effective, and the tactical actually is pretty underrated as it can shut down the majority of the top tier legends. And the ultimate I find right now to be just plain bad. It requires, again, a ton of coordination with the team, good timing, and even then, I find that the ultimate can be a little bit more detrimental rather than actually being effective. Revenant is a fine legend, but there's a lot better options right now. As for Crypto, he's one of the hardest legends to be successful with, and much like Revenant, if you're looking for one of your first legends to unlock, I don't think Crypto is going to be the greatest pick. He does provide a ton of utility for the team, with the drone being the best thing out there, and maybe the only good part of his kit because everything does revolve around the drone. Being able to scan enemies with the drone, pick up cards, revive remotely, see who's around in terms of teams, reload your guns, and more is all good. And the EMP is also fine to open fights with, do some damage, clear all those traps out, and just be a little bit more of an annoyance type of legend. As I said at the start though, Crypto requires a ton of skill to excel with. You need to have great sense of timing and understanding when you need to go into the drone, when you don't need to go into the drone, and you just got to do a lot of actions to really make Crypto be worth it. And I think it's a little bit too much for a newer or less experienced player to handle right off the bat. If you do want a great legend for some utility and a very different type of playstyle though, I think you can give Crypto a shot. The next two legends are going to be Mad Maggie and Ash. Mad Maggie is a great legend right now, but you need to play in a very specific and very aggressive way with her. And much like the previous two legends, if you are newer to the game, I don't think her kit is really going to help you out too much because you do got to be a little bit more mobile than not, which is good, but I do think it requires a little bit too much skill. The tactical drill to move enemies and do some damage though is pretty good, and the ultimate to push and displace enemies is nice. Her kit is simple, which is also very good, but the skill required to actually make it viable I think is a little bit in the upper end, as you'll need to be very confident in your gun skill. And much like Revenant, I do think Mad Maggie requires a little bit of team coordination in there if you really want to make her kit worth it. On the other side of things, we do get away from those legends that require a little bit more team coordination, and I do think Ash could be a very good pick, but there's a lot of other legends that kind of just do what she does, but maybe a little bit better. She can be very aggressive, and she can help keep the flow of battle. Her passive is going to let her see where players are dying, which is good to help direct the flow of rotations for you and the team. You can pretty much just look at the map and see where players are dying and then go to there, or you can avoid there if you want to get higher placement and you don't want to take as many fights. The tactical is going to let you snag and snare enemies briefly, and I find this to be pretty forgettable, at least most of the time. And the ultimate is top tier, a movement ability that can let you breach to height, escape out of trouble, and so on. Her kit is simple, which again is very good for a new player, but I do think there are better options than Ash. The next two at 12 and 11 are going to respectively be Rampart and Watson. Rampart is the first to recommend if you want a solid ranked pick, if you are looking to hold up areas and also do a good amount of damage farming. She's also decent for pubs, which is a plus. Her passive of increased mag size and reload speed for LMGs is good, but overall you are going to be looking at her for the tactical wall because this is where she shines. You can fortify buildings and really just accelerate the damage output for you and the squad. 20% boost is nothing to shy away from. If you are looking to farm those 4Ks, you can do about 700 less on this legend because you are getting that damage boost. Rampart is a good alternative defense legend with a little bit of the tactical gameplay in there, as you can go up the buildings, really block people in there, and then you can completely terrorize them by shooting through your amped walls, and they really don't have anywhere to go as you are locking them in a building. After this though, we got Watson, and Watson is actually pretty similar to Rampart with the defensive playstyle, but with a slight twist of the team support with her generator. She requires a lot of work though to be good with, and I don't think she is the greatest for those in the unlocking of legend stage. She's not really great in pubs due to her slower playstyle, but again, it is all about what you do make of that legend. Her kit revolves around placing fences and generally holding up larger areas than Rampart can. Her ultimate, I think, is the best part of her kit, as the generator charging the shields and blocking incoming ordinances is also pretty nice. Watson is actually a pretty good legend. She has one of the highest win rates out of any legend in the game, but she also has one of the lowest pick rates, which does show that people that do play Watson generally can make her work pretty well, but again, it's going to require a lot of skill for you to get there, and there's other legends that do what she she does, but are much, much simpler. The start of the top 10 is Mirage, and he edges out the lower legends because of simply his fun factor, at least for me. He's generally a very enjoyable legend to play and requires a very different playstyle that does revolve around trickery compared to all the other legends in the game. He's completely unique. He's honestly in a category of his own. He's not top tier. He's going to require a ton of knowledge for you to really excel with his abilities, and his skill is definitely capped based on who you are fighting. But if you are in lower skill lobbies and you are new at the game, he can actually be very good if you are pretty decent with them. His tactical and passive are just fine, but his ultimate comes back every 60 seconds, and you do spawn a wave of clones with his ultimate. It can be pretty confusing to those enemies. If you want a carefree playstyle, Mirage is definitely great, and I think you absolutely should just give him a try. Another legend who is a ton of fun and someone who is generally very good for a new player is going to be Octane. Octane's abilities are wildly simple, and they do revolve around speed and just moving faster and faster, which can be tough for new players to achieve, and Octane is going to help you bridge this gap. His launchpad ultimate can be good to transport you and the squad, and his tactical stim I do find can be pretty good, but it's also pretty detrimental to those that are using him who don't understand how big of a deal it is to lose health right before you are going into a fight. I used to rate Octane pretty high to my legend buying guys, but I actually find that him as a legend lately can be a little bit more detrimental than actually worth it, but he still is pretty good once you do unlock his skill. Basically, his speed is going to help you get separated from your squad, and this isn't really what you want to do if you are a new player. Apex is a very team-oriented game, and if you are getting separated from your squad, it's just not a good thing. He's a good legend, he's a fun legend, but I think for newer players, it can cause more trouble than it's worth. A great mix of the aggressive power and recon power in there is going to be Vantage. If you want a very hybrid playstyle, Vantage is absolutely one legend that you should look at. Being able to see what rarity of shields have with her passive and how many people are in that squad is very, very good. If you look at someone, you know they're alone, this basically just instantly tells you can't push them with your squad. If you look at them and you know they have 3 red Evo shields, you might want to take another second and think about what you are going to do in that situation. This recon is very simple, but it's very effective. Her ultimate is also kind of OP at the moment. It's great to open fights, and you can 2-tap almost any player in the game if you are getting a double headshot or even a body to a headshot, and you are going to do very well with her ultimate if you are an accurate sniper. Her tactical of movement, though, is insane for repositioning, staying alive, and just pressuring enemies from height. The biggest downfall for Vantage with newer players, I think, will be the skill required to excel with her, but if you want a great recon and aggressive legend, she's definitely a good choice. Newcastle is similar to Vantage, but Newcastle mixes in the defensive and support capabilities rather than the recon and aggressive capabilities. Newcastle right now is one of the best legends in the game to just straight up be useful, and anyone that has a Newcastle on their team is just going to do pretty well. For starters, you can revive and move players around with that passive revive ability, and this is honestly the best revive ability in the game. The tactical also isn't too bad to defend and move around with that wall and fortify buildings, of course, with his ultimate, or just leap to high ground and just save teammates is also pretty nice as well. Newcastle kind of can just do it all right now, and his utility makes him one of the best ranked legends in the game, where if you are looking to be kind of the aggressive squad, Newcastle is great to support in this type of playstyle. Much like some of the other legends previous to Newcastle, he's going to require a lot of skills to really excel with him, so just be ready for a challenge. You need to be moving around a lot, and you're doing a lot of actions compared to a lot of the other legends, so just be warned, he is going to take a little bit to get used to. Number 6 on my list is going to be Seer, one of the best legends in the game right now as well. Similar to Vantage, but more of an emphasis on recon rather than straight aggressive playmaking. Seer's heartbeat sensor means non-stop wall hacks, which on its own is literally just overpowered. His tactical is much like a Bloodhound scan, but this time you're going to cancel enemies' heals, revives, and make that clutch move to move things around, and not to mention, you're going to see enemies' health bars, which again, on its own, is pretty overpowered. Seer's ultimate will give you non-stop scans in an area, which is going to mean more informed and aggressive playmaking, where you can approach enemies, drop that ultimate, and then fight them while you are continually getting scans on them. Seer is kind of just the warrior, and any team will greatly benefit from his scan aggro type of play. He definitely is for fighting squads, so if you are looking to push, he's definitely a good pick. Even though his abilities are easy to use, they will require a little bit extra to excel with, so definitely don't expect an easy ride if you are looking to pick up Seer, but you absolutely should give him a try. Before we move on to our top 5, be sure to hit that like button if you are enjoying the video, and also don't play with randoms. Hop into my community Discord, you can chat with myself, find others to play with, and of course, we'd love to have you in there. Starting the top 5, we are going to have Caustic, and Caustic is my number 1 pick for the best ranked gains in Apex. If you're looking to get steady placement and just grind ranked and maybe not make it too difficult for yourself, Caustic is going to help you do this. His gas traps will help lock down alleys, buildings, high ground, and more, and the traps are also good when you are approaching fights. You can't just place them down right before you are about to take some action, and they are going to help keep enemies from pushing into your area. area. Caustic's gas grenade, though, is another top tier ability to force movement, open a fight, or just support the team. His hybrid play style is really what he is all about. Even though Caustic, I think, is defensive by nature, he's someone, again, who kind of can just fit into a multi-role type of reliability. And unlike a lot of the previous legends, Caustic is very easy to use. All you gotta really do is just press one ability, your trap goes on the ground, and you're pretty much just good to go. Loba, for me, edges out Caustic at our number 4 slot, mainly due to her team support capabilities, which are top tier, and I think in an atypical way, she is the best team support legend, especially for a casual player. Her passive lets her see loot through walls. For a new or less experienced player, I find that this can be pretty great, as often looting times is the slower part of a new player, and over looting is definitely a big thing a lot of players are not really even realizing they're falling into a trap for. For her tactical, she's got some movement with the bracelet, which is good, but it's, again, definitely not a top tier ability. It does allow for some repositioning, but compared to a lot of the other movement abilities, it is a little bit weak. I find that sometimes it can be hard to get this ability off, and it's easy for players to chase you down, which I think is a problem. You also can cancel it once you do send it out, so you're pretty much just in Fate's hands at that point. Her ultimate, though, it's a top tier ability. The black market lets everyone get loot in the squad, and you can even get endless ammo pulls. This is where she shines for both pubs and ranked. Sometimes looting in pubs can be a big issue. You spend too much time looting, you're not getting enough fights in there when you do just want to get more kills, and if you can bypass this a little bit, Loba is going to help out pretty nicely. On the other hand, for ranked, looting sometimes is hard to do, and looting from cover is absolutely amazing, not to mention some quick armor swaps in there. Loba is easy to use. Every squad can greatly benefit from having Loba on the team, which means if you're brand new, you really don't gotta do much. All you gotta do is drop your black market, and you're gonna greatly reward your team. Our bronze spot at number 3 is gonna be Valkyrie, as the best all-around legend that you can pick for both pubs and ranked. Her passive is a jetpack, which is flying. I mean, in a movement game, you kind of can't get anything better than this. If you want to be very mobile and have a free-flowing playstyle that really lets you traverse anywhere you want, this is pretty great. Her tactical is like a free arc start, where you can send out rockets, do a little bit of damage, stun players, which means getting some nice plays and pushes in there. And her ultimate is where she shines for the entire squad. Non-stop, huge rotations with the skyward dive means safer rotations in ranked, and just more aggressive playmaking in pubs, where you can just get more action and take more fights more frequently. Valkyrie is fairly easy to use, but her skill ceiling is pretty high, so be ready to put some serious hours in on her if you do want to get to the top of the game. The silver spot for me at number 2 is going to be Horizon, for the best fighting legend in Apex. She also mixes in a little bit of the team utility in there with her lift, and her passive will let her slide around, which means you do take no fall fatigue, and you can breach into fights and just be a little bit more aggressive and more elusive. Her ultimate is the black hole, which does suck up everything in its radius, and it's pretty good as an opening ability to catch enemies off guard, and even sometimes you can do massive damage if you are pairing a grenade in there as well. The tactical lift for me, though, is the best part of her kit, as you're going to be able to fly up into the air, get some heals off, reset, move the team around, or of course just rain fire down from above. Horizon is actually a pretty easy legend to approach, but much like Valkyrie, and I think even more so, her skill ceiling is extremely high, and getting there is going to be a long journey. If you want the best killing legend right now, I do think Horizon is absolutely it. And taking the top spot for me, the gold is going to be Fuse. Fuse is the best skill building legend out there. If you're brand new to Apex, still learning the ropes, and you're just not sure what to do sometimes, one of the most forgotten techniques, or something that new players have a hard time grasping, is grenade usage. And since Fuse does revolve around this, you're going to get better at one of the best parts of Apex Legends' core fighting mechanics. The passive is going to let you hold 2 grenade slots and sling them much farther, and the tactical is virtually a free grenade with a knuckle cluster, and these are going to help you force movement and just really do a little bit of damage to people. The ultimate, though, is just fine at getting some big fire damage in there, and it's never bad. You can really trap people, and if people do get trapped in this ultimate, you can really close in on them pretty fast and get them down pretty easily, as they can't really see over the fire. Fuse really lets you focus on that grenade usage and skill building, and this kit is very easy to use, which is a plus. Gun skill is paramount in Apex, so anytime you don't need to learn some sort of abilities just to get into fighting, I think it's good for a new player. Consistency and simplicity is key, and Fuse is going to help you learn this. But if you do want to get even better at the game, be sure to check out my How to Find Your Main video if you truly want to help picking up your next long-term legend. And as always, happy gaming, legends.